The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining today's Open Plan demo hosted by Deltek. My name is Darren Fontenot, and I am the Director of Solution Engineering for the IPM product suite here at Deltek, and we'll be conducting this afternoon's session. Before we begin, I would like to cover a few administrative topics. This presentation will take approximately 30 to 40 minutes, and then we'll open it up for questions and answers. Any questions you might have can be entered in the chat section of your screen, as this demo will be muted. All registered attendees will receive presentation slides within 2 business days following this presentation. If you have any technical issues, please contact GoToWebinar's customer support line at 1-800-263-6317. Okay, so let's get started now. Deltek Open Plan is a comprehensive solution for project planning, scheduling, and critical path method, or CPM, including risk analysis, resource management, and cost center and value reporting. Open Plan scales to the largest of organizations, and projects include role-based security, full support for internal and external sub-projects, and contractors. Open Plan features an Open Plan architecture that allows for powerful application programming interfaces to other systems through database connections, as well as control and manipulation of Open Plan directly. It integrates very tightly with Deltek's Cobra, PM Compass, and other Deltek solutions. Open Plan provides the ability to create enterprise-level views that will roll data up across multiple projects, across multiple users, providing for very powerful and rich reporting. The project planning data that it provides, again, supports internal and external reporting and allows you to customize the views so that they're familiar with users, or that users are familiar with. It supports roll-up across multiple code structures so that I can create control account, work package type structures, integrated program team type structures, any kind of code structure that you can think of for reporting purposes. Open Plan can support. Up to 90 codes can be supported within a given project at any point in time, with the ability to assign codes to the project and the resource level as well. Look, again, custom views, so we can support creation of look-ahead type views, so that as I create project teams and need to be able to analyze that data for the coming trends, we can do that very easily. Now, Open Plan's critical path method scheduling system adheres to all the standards. So it includes the typical relationship types of finish to start, finish to finish, start to finish, and start to start. Multiple critical paths can be managed, including multiple ends, tracking of logic, the longest path, controlling activities, driving path analysis, all of the things that you expect from a very robust critical path method scheduling system. Logic diagrams are provided natively out of the box that allow you to see your critical path within the schedule, as well as being able to trace all of your predecessors and successors from a given task. Again, giving you the ability to analyze your schedule to assess its viability for on-time completion. Driving path analysis or tracing of your critical path is supported natively within Open Plan as well, so that I can trace multiple paths throughout the network, seeing how it's impacting either interim milestones or the end project deliverables. Open Plan supports multiple baselines. Up to 3 can be displayed at any given point in time, and a special baseline called project or PMB, or project performance measurement baseline, can be created from which all earned value calculations will be based. Open Plan supports multiple layers of multi-projects, allowing you to create portfolios that span across a given organization within one location, or across multiple locations rolling up to division or corporate levels. Open Plan supports the creation of inter-project relationships. Inter-project relationships are relationships that are created across multiple individual projects, so that I can show dependencies between those projects while working within a single project. Open Plan supports resource management by the creation of a hierarchical resource pool. That resource pool supports the way your organization thinks about and manages resources. We can define resources at a labor, material, other direct costs, and subcontract categories. So you have 4 different buckets that those resources roll up to. Resources are the basis for calculating costs within a scheduling system. Those resources can be defined down to the skill or trade level. And we can optionally define proficiencies, which will aid in selection of resources so that we can be more proactive about which resources we assign to tasks within the schedule. The resource pools can be defined from a specific level all the way up to generic resources. And those resources can be defined as either being a regular or normal type resource that's extendable. And then you have consumable and perishable resource types. Costs can be escalated over time, and we can define partial and full resource reservations. A resource reservation is one in which we define a resource's availability either in full or in part to a specific project. Resource planning is more than just assigning resources. We need to be able to analyze those resources to see what kinds of impacts they're having on our projects, so that we can analyze and decide how we're going to resolve those conflicts. So Open Plan has some very powerful resource planning views, again, customizable so that you can look at the information that you need to make your decisions. As we're assigning resources, as we said before, we want to be very proactive in what resources we assign to a task, rather than being reactive in assigning a resource and then finding out later that they've been over-assigned or over-allocated across multiple projects. In Open Plan, we have the ability to see how overloaded they are before we make the assignments. So in our resource selection dialog, we're able to select a given activity, choose the early start and finish dates upon which we want to analyze the resource availabilities. We can also select codes that may have been assigned to the code file, as well as resources or resource skills, again, that may have proficiencies that will allow us to apply a selection criteria. That selection criteria will then give us a reduced set of resources here within the selection screen. Here for Ike, you can see where we have 8 hours of availability for Ike, but only starting at May 31st, 2007. Where Kelly is immediately available, but she only has 4 to 6 hours of availability within the time frame of this particular activity. That's starting of May 28th, 2007 to May 31st, 2007. Open Plan supports resource utilization type views. So here we're seeing the percentage of utilization across our resource pool. So anything in yellow is showing 100% utilized, anything in green is underutilized, and anything in red is overutilized. Cross-project analysis type views. In this case, we're showing the roll-up across our resource pool and showing the total demand that is being placed on those resources by project here. So we're showing a stacked histogram bar showing all of the projects that those resources are being assigned to. Again, very powerful analysis from a resource perspective. And here's a capacity planning type view where we're showing the available resources in yellow and the demand in black. And again, that's being done or shown across and rolled up across our resource pool, which is also a hierarchical structure. So we're drilling down through our hierarchy. So I might start at a named user, rolling up to their departmental level, rolling up to perhaps a higher level department up to the organization level. OpenPlan allows the capture of status both at an activity and a resource level. As I status at the resource level, assigning percent completes at a resource level will allow me to roll up that resource progress up to the activity level for a physical percent complete. The percent complete over here on the left-hand activity progress dialog is from a time perspective, whereas the dialog here on the right is from a resource perspective. So both can be captured. When defining or using OpenPlan for earned value purposes, OpenPlan supports multiple earned value techniques that can be assigned to the activity. And then using various tools, the performance can be taken. And then it also supports, as we said before, multiple baselines. And then we have a special baseline called PMB, which is where all of our earned value calculations would be taken if the PMB exists. If the PMB does not exist, then performance will be taken from either the first baseline selected or in the cases of assigning multiple baselines to the project, the first baseline that's been selected. OpenPlan supports the cost and performance reporting curves, so we can show early our baseline, actual, and performance curves. Here's another type view where we're showing hours and performance. Again, stretched out across a Gantt type view, rolling up in each time slice is the utilization. And as you can see, as we go through these slides, you'll see a number of different representations of Gantt views. So again, it's just illustrating the different types of reporting that can be done within OpenPlan. Now, OpenPlan also supports risk analysis. And we won't go through all of the slides here in this slide deck, but OpenPlan does support risk analysis from a Monte Carlo risk simulation perspective. It's based upon 3-point estimates. A user can select the probability distributions. OpenPlan supports probabilistic branching, so defining the probability of a logic branch being executed during the risk analysis process. There's also the ability to define whether an activity will exist or not, or the probability of existing. So we can define alternate paths and alternate sets of activities as we go through our risk analysis process. We produce the criticality and sensitivity analysis indexes so that we can define how often a task is falling on the critical path, and then the impact of that activity over the overall project so that we can produce views like the tornado chart showing the greatest impact from those activities. So Monte Carlo risk simulation can be repeated many, many times. we can define the key activities, optimistic, most likely, and pessimistic durations. And we won't go through everything here. I'll slip forward a little bit. Some of the indices that are produced as a result of running risk analysis. Again, we have the criticality index, which shows us the probability of being critical. We have the activity index, the probability of that activity being active, and the sensitivity. So that shows the impact of a given activity on the entire project. Here's a view of a risk analysis bar chart. Risk analysis histogram, which depicts the probability of a particular date being hit from a start or finish perspective. And then as we go out in time, you have a cumulative curve that shows the probability over time. So as I get to later and later in the project, I have a higher probability of accomplishing my start or finish date. Here's a risk analysis sensitivity or tornado chart. So the tasks that fall at the top have the greatest impact on the project, while the tasks that fall toward the bottom have the least amount of impact. May have a high probability of occurrence, but it has the least impact on the project. And what we want to be able to focus in on are those activities that have the greatest impact. Statistical analysis reports that show us mean early starts and finishes, standard deviation, and typical risk metric kind of data. So OpenPlan supports really conformance and best practice. As we think about the guidelines provided by many of the federal agency and DoD guidelines, OpenPlan supports many and most of those. And in support of those guidelines, OpenPlan in version 3.4 has included a validation rules function. And the validation rules allows OpenPlan to validate data before it is processed. And those validations can be defined in two different types, either an error or a warning. So an error will prevent a user from saving the record until it's resolved, while a warning will warn the user that there's potential issues with their data. So over here on the right, you'll see a user-defined validation, which has an expression, has a validation type of either warning or error, and the message that will be displayed if the user hits that. And again, this is being done at execution, so while I'm trying to enter a new record within the application, if I try and save that record, if it violates one of the defined validations, it's going to flag them with the warning message here, and then depending upon whether it's a warning or an error, prevent them from using or progressing forward. Over on the right, we have a number of validations that have been defined, and then we have those validations that have been assigned to a specific project here. So again, OpenPlan is really driving the thought process here in making sure that we're adhering to the standards, especially as schedules are becoming much more focal point in today's project management systems. OpenPlan's integration is very strong with most other systems out there. First of all, we have a proprietary integration that's directly with Microsoft Project 2000 to 2007. We support Primavera integration to the P6 XER format, as well as the Primavera B-tree files as well. OpenPlan also has a general import-export function, This allows us to import data via XML, CSV, structured in fixed format type files. And again, as we mentioned earlier, OpenPlan also has an API, which stands for Application Programming Interface. So it allows us to extend the functionality of OpenPlan, controlling the user interface, or the user interaction with the scheduling data, as well as supporting the integration of OpenPlan with many other systems. So if I need to pull data from a source system, could be a financial system, could be a work authorization type system, we can pre-process that data before it comes into OpenPlan. And from a performance perspective, OpenPlan has been tested with millions of activities, many thousands of users, very robust. It's got a lot of testing, a lot of years behind it, and it's a very strong system. So what are some of the key differentiators here? Well, one, as a Deltek product, it integrates very tightly with COBRA and PM Compass. Control is done through a role-based security model, so we can define users, groups, and roles, and how those users will interact from one project to another. Again, it's got built-in and integrated risk analysis capability, which many other scheduling systems do not have that capability built in. Its open architecture is, from day one, it's always been an open system, and the API, database, and batch mode supported by OpenPlan provide that open architecture. It's scalable with high performance, ease of integration with other systems, again, XML, CSV, and fixed formatted type files. Its flexibility of reporting. As we went through this slide deck, you saw the variation of types of reports that can be created within the system. Calculated fields. OpenPlan's calculated field function is much like Excel, formulas that you might create in Excel that allow you to do variance type reporting, date manipulation, and is the underlying tool that will provide the flexibility in being able to create all of those wonderful reports that we've seen so far. Simplicity of installation. OpenPlan is a simple client-server application, simple to install, simple to administer. And it supports SQL Server, Oracle, and Access databases. So as you install OpenPlan out of the box, I can immediately begin to use it against an Access database. And for more robust and enterprise-level installations, you can use SQL Server and Oracle. Okay. So that's the end of the slide presentation. Now we'll get into OpenPlan and look at some of these features firsthand. I will log in as a system administrator. So when we log into OpenPlan, we can define a project to be launched at startup. And that's what just occurred here. We launched OpenPlan, and we had an enterprise-type project that was launched with this view that shows us all of our projects across the different project managers, and within each project manager, the proposed open, so the status of the projects. And so we're seeing a lot of status and then value type information right at our fingertips without going into a specific project. So again, makes us a lot more efficient being able to analyze where our issues might lie before driving into a particular project. OpenPlan utilizes an Explorer-style navigation convention. Since all of our data sits within a database, we have a way of navigating all of the projects that I might have access to. Open Plan allows you to only access projects that you've been assigned to from a access or permissions perspective. So I'm going to start by opening a single project. And we'll start with this consulting services job here. Now for this particular project, as I go to the project views folder, I can see all of the views that have been assigned to this project. Now views in Open Plan are basically the ways that I will look at my data. And we call them WYSIWYG type views. What you see is what you get. So the view on screen is what we'll see when we print the view. So these also function as reports. So both the way that we'll see the data as we analyze things and also the way that we will print them. Now here's a standard type Gantt chart, activities with a spreadsheet section. We have a bar chart section here. There's a date ribbon across the top that can be separately controlled. Down here you'll see what we call the foreign activity, foreign project function here. And so these indicate that I have an inter-project relationship to another project that I don't have open at this time. So it's showing me where I have dependencies outside of my control. Now these could be driving activities, or I could be impacting them from a driving perspective. If I double click on an activity, we'll have an activity details dialog box that allows us to see all of the information about that activity. It's any kind of target dates, relationship information, any resources that might be assigned, any code assignments. The nice thing about this particular dialog is that as I navigate from one activity to another, the activity details dialog stays open. So it's modal. It doesn't force you to close it and reopen it for each and every activity. So it's nice to be able to go through and see which activities I have from a logic perspective, or I can go from the activity dialog box and have it navigate the other way. So in this particular case, I have asterisks here that indicate the critical path. So if I wanted to jump to, let's say, the successor activity 1000, I can click on the Go To button and it'll jump right to there, and you can see it highlighting here over in the left-hand section of the screen here. So very powerful navigation. This will allow you to perhaps trace from let's say, a negative total float. If I scroll to the right here, I can see the total float values. So if I happen to have negative float in my schedule, this is one of the ways that you could traverse the critical path and find out all of the activities that are in that path contributing to that negative float. Here's a resource that has been assigned to that task. If I click on the ellipsis button here, here's the Select Resource dialog. I may choose the only display available resources here, and you'll notice the Apply filter is selected. So I'll go ahead and hit Apply here, and then we'll click Expand All. So this is showing me all of the resources that are available to be assigned to this particular task between the early start and early finish of this task. Now, I may want to further constrain the selection by choosing a particular skill that I might need for that assignment. And so we have a long list of skills that we've created and assigned. But let's just say we want an application general type resource. So then we'll hit Apply there, and notice that our selection now is greatly reduced to only a few resources that are available that have that skill. No codes are available here within this selection. Had I assigned skill codes, I could also select from the codes list as well. That would further restrict my selection. Your codes might refer to location of the resource, might relate to some type of a overhead or IPT assignment, things of that nature. Okay. So very powerful in the resource selection. Now I might want to see, well, what resources are assigned to each task, and so I'd want to be able to look at a selection of the resources and have it filter for me. So I'm going to come over here and choose a resource selector. And so as I traverse my my path here, I can see all of the resources that have been assigned in total. Now, if I drill down to, say, engineering, I could choose certain resources, and it'll automatically be filtered for me. So here, as I get to mechanical and design, I see that I have a single task that has that mechanical and design pool assigned to it, and I can see all of the resources that have been assigned to that. Okay. So it allows us to navigate through the project and select those resources that are impacting us. Okay. It's just one of the ways of looking at our resources. Now, if we want to look at some different views of those resources, we may want to look at a resource allocation type report. So again, here's a breakout of the availability of our resources against a demand. And so I can look at each one and see that the chemistry hardware skill name has been assigned. Now I can intersect that with the actual histogram. So as I bring up the histogram view here, I can tailor that view. We're going to show no decimals. And from a resource perspective, I'm only going to show the early dates, but we could show an S-curve that would show the cumulative demand over time versus the cumulative availability. I could show early dates, schedule. I could show actuals of baseline. And so right now, for the resource that I have selected, it's showing me my total demand within a given period. So if I've got overloads, the red line here at 5 indicates how much of that resource I have available each day or each week of the project, which is what I have displayed here in my day bar. I can look at individual assignments. So I can look at Don Hale and see all of the activities that resource has been assigned to, or all of the projects, depending upon how I want to roll that data up. Here's a view from a skills perspective, so showing us all of the skills that are assigned. So we have many, many different types of views. These are only the views that I've assigned to this one particular project. Now let's get out and look at a multi-project type view of data. So one thing I want to point out here is that we have a lot of projects within the system. And if I'm a scheduler, I may have access to all of those projects. And I would want a way to organize those projects so that I can more quickly access those as I go through my project selection. So OpenPlan allows us to create folders and subfolders from a user preference perspective so that we can be more efficient with how we access our data. So here I've created a UK projects folder and a US projects folder, And those projects are all incorporated into this master project. So I have 3 levels of projects here. I have the individual level, then I have a UK master and a US master, and then a corporate master. So I'm going to open up the corporate level just by double-clicking on a view. It's going to open up the project. You can see the level of the projects. We have a status master project, and then we have each UK and US master with the individual projects there. And we can unselect some of these if we don't want to open up everything at one time. So now we're looking at the entire organization of projects here. And so now if I wanted to look at a resource type view, we'll look at a resource allocation type report. So now if I drill down through engineering, we can see all the types of jobs that those resources have been assigned to. So here, Dave Sandusky has been assigned to consulting job 5 and consulting job 3. So we look across projects and see how we're being utilized. We could very easily change this view and look at it from a project perspective, so I could see project by project what resources are assigned to each one. Now, I'm going to open up another view, and we'll demonstrate some of the driving path analysis capability with an open plan. I'm going to go into the shift project and open up a board chart. And I'm going to open up a network view. So here's our Gantt view or logic diagram, where we can see all of the activities and see what kind of logic we have. And I'm going to choose the customer final inspection milestone. Under project, I'm going to choose schedule driver analysis. It knows what activity I have selected already. I'm going to choose the number of paths, so you can choose upwards of 20 paths. I'm going to leave it at 3. It's going to use the user character field 10 as a place for storing its analysis data. So I'm going to click on the perform analysis. And when we're done, we have this driving path analysis view that shows us, and I'll move this around a little bit so we can see all of the Gantt view. So we can see the path in red is our critical path, the primary critical path leading us to our customer final inspection, which is the task here in green. The next most critical path is in blue, that's path 2, and I can see the tasks that lead to that milestone, and then path 3, which is the next critical path leading in. So very, very powerful path analysis capability, not only from an analysis of the critical path there, but also in looking at a network type view and being able to see our total critical path. And as I kind of zoom out, I can see the totality of my project with all of the logic drawn from there. And this view can also be tailored to show groupings of projects. And those groupings can be from a grouping of time. It can be a grouping from WBS assignments. So if I want to see everything associated with a particular leg of my WBS, this view can be segmented in that way. We call that zoning within OpenPlan. Some other things that are available within the system. I'm going to jump back to the activity bar chart view. We have what we refer to as web windows. So in the framework of OpenPlan, we can show a a web browser window embedded within the framework of OpenPlan. So I'm going to bring up this little parts database. Now, what the parts database will do, get some of these other windows out of my way. This parts database is a separate little access database, and we're linking to this separate database through assignments at the activity level. So as I navigate through my activities within the SHIP project, we can see the parts that might be assigned or required. So this kind of linking is utilizing some of that API functionality we talked about earlier. So I can create integrations and really bring data together inside of OpenPlan so that it makes the scheduler or the OpenPlan user much more efficient about analyzing and making assessments about where we are from a status perspective or what kind of updates I need to make against the task within the schedule. We also have a resource management wall chart. The resource management wall chart allows me to see, I'll get rid of this here, get rid of that. And we'll adjust our dates here. '03. We have to adjust the time frame here. There we go. So in this resource management wall chart, this is where we would see the total demand of our resources and whether we're overloaded or not overloaded. And as I select a particular resource, then I can see the particular activities that are assigned to that particular resource. So we can see how much of that resource in each given time window that's making up that overutilization or underutilization. Okay. So again, it's about providing the views and the means to analyze your project schedules to be able to get the most out of your projects. Now, I'm going to turn it over to questions now. If there are any questions, please type those now. Okay. Well, I haven't seen any questions come through in the screen thus far. So that will conclude this afternoon's webinar, OpenPlan on OpenPlan. Any unanswered questions, or if you have a question, you can send those in to Deltek. And as a reminder, the PowerPoint presentations will be emailed to all attendees within 2 business days. Thank you for joining us today, and please visit deltek.com for more upcoming Deltek events. Thank you, and have a good afternoon.